Yeah, and so what I was gonna say is, it's touching back on what we were talking about in the last stream about, the reality of crypto and how can it be real if it's something that you can't touch. And so that's one of the biggest things that I think one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of people have to that society has to overcome, I should say, not that a lot of people do, but that society has to overcome. Society has to understand how it is that cryptocurrency works and what it is, what cryptocurrency means, how what the blockchain means, and how it compares to tangible assets like the U.S. dollar, like how we were talking about in the other stream um, back on Wednesday. You know, if you look at the similar the sim the how the
The
U.S.
similar,
dollar and crypto are similar is they're both something that can be used as a form of exchange, right? I can give you Bitcoin and you can give me something that I need in exchange for it. We can use it that same way, just like you can the US dollar. What makes it different in a lot of people's eyes is that the fact that the US dollar is something that I can have physically in my wallet via a piece of paper, and cryptocurrency is primarily just a digital asset. So a lot of people's primary concern is, what happens if, the internet goes down, and people have pretty much quailed that issue for the most part, but people still come up and ask that question, which is, what happens if, the internet was to go down in an area, like a massive area, like say America had an internet blackout. Well, in reality, when it comes to something like that happening, crypto is not going to go away because of that, but in that area, they would be having that issue, and that's why when it comes to having physical forms of representations of currency, we'll still have that, but it'll be kind of like one of those back placeholders, right? We still do checking systems. You still can write a check at the grocery store and pay for your goods with a check at the grocery store. It's just very uncommon in comparison to using a debit card, credit card, or your phone. That's just we've moved past that to simpler means of paying for you know our goods, and so that's essentially how fiat currency would end up becoming. It's not something that we would have go away because it's kind of what we use as our construct of understanding uh a form of exchange, and that's one of the big hurdles that people have to get over when it comes to anything like Bitcoin or Ethereum, is that just because it's not something that you can touch, since it's something that cannot necessarily fall within your perception of reality, that makes it hard for you to believe in and invest in. And that's something that people have to overcome, is just the slight differences between fiat currency and blockchain technology currency. You take the US dollar, and that's something that can be fundamentally changed, right? So if you take the US dollar from a certain standpoint, originally we were based on the gold and silver standard, and then we essentially moved over to a numeral standard, right? So when we moved from one standard to another standard, we were changing the fundamentals essentially of how the of what the US dollar is. We were fundamentally changing it, but since we all use it, and since it's massively understood that this is the currency, either A, of the world, or B, of the country, depending on how you look at it, um, you know, you just continue moving forward. And the whole reason why that was is because it was simply unethical for it was simply unethical for us to try and continue to store up massive amounts of gold or silver or any other types of precious metals or gems. It's just not a reality. Um, when it comes to that, we can only put so much resources into it. We can only have so many materials in it, and so it takes time and money and resources to do that. And so there came that eclipsing point for physical material being used as a store of value, right? And so that's why we ended up changing the U.S. dollar over to the numeral standard in layman's terms, because there was much more to it than just that. But that's essentially, what it started from, right? So then you take blockchain technology, and the difference between blockchain technology and then the original foundation of the U.S. dollar is that when, for instance, Bitcoin was created, you can't change how Bitcoin fundamentally works from its beginning. There's no way to do that. Once its blocks are created, there is no changing those blocks, right? There is no like, oh well, you know what? Actually, let's go ahead and go back and change this bit of the code and fix this and that. You can't do it like that. It's not something that you can change and then it just like it just goes in without any issues. That's the whole reason why we have bridging. That's the whole reason why we have layer 2 solutions. There's a reason why we have those type of things. It's not because like that's the way that we want to do it. That's the way it has to be done. You can't if you want to change a cryptocurrency fundamentally from its beginning, and you're trying to do it to where you're trying to change, like, let's say from the Genesis block, you might as well just go off and try and make another one, because you're gonna have there would be so much work involved with trying to do it that way that you could have considered it essentially to be impossible.